The Montreal Canadiens were the feel-good team in these playoffs, and I say that perfectly readily as a Leafs fan.
They were.
Dude, they were the best. The original David versus Goliath was them versus Toronto. They should not have got past Toronto. And Toronto won the division. They were the worst regular season team to make the playoffs. There's no hyperbole there. All those things are true.
And then the second David versus Goliath was Vegas Montreal, second place team in the league against 18th place team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I do have a quick question about Montreal though, because we have a little bit of news to get to. But Dom Ducharme, it looks like, will be, according to Renaud Lavoie of TVA, will eventually will no longer be an interim coach with Montreal. Joel Bouchard is now the coach of the Ducks, basically AHL affiliate, the Gulls. But it's funny, a lot of people are in Montreal land are very upset about losing Joel Bouchard because he is highly touted. But now that you have Dom Ducharme, sort of like, how do you not have him as your head coach after he goes all the way to the finals? Even though objectively speaking, the team looked better under Luke Richardson. They did. I'm sorry, but they did. And there's a lot of Habs fans tweeting me going, I completely agree.
There's some on the other side too.
Yeah, well, look at the numbers. Keep in mind, but anyway,
like the grass is greener. You had Luke Richardson for what, 4 playoff games?
No, you had him for most of the Vegas series.
Yeah, that's 4, 5, what, 6?
And then the first 2 or 3 of the Stanley Cup final as well.
What I'm saying is the sample size was not large. They were high stakes games, absolutely, and he did very well.
Mm-hmm.
But
made correct lineup decisions. Weird.
It's like the Jack Campbell conversation that we were having. Do you think he's good? Yeah, but he's never done the extended starter thing.
And Dom Ducharme has?
No, but he has more experience than Richardson, or at least did this season.
Okay.
It's a difficult one. Now, I remember us talking about this.
Hold on, though. I did have a place I wanted to take this. I do. So my question is, we know Dom Ducharme is going to be the head coach. Yes. My question for Montreal is, what's next? Because you actually have to do an honest assessment of what this team is. Are they the 18th place team in the regular season, or in what people still call a weak division, although they did make it all the way to the finals, so I'm not sure how weak it could be. Are they 18th place team in the NHL, or are they Stanley Cup finalists? And keeping in mind that plenty of teams make the Stanley Cup final and miss the playoffs the next year. Dallas did it this year. Remember, New Jersey won the Cup in 95 and missed the playoffs in 96. Yep. It can happen. In fact, it happens a lot. So, or not a lot, I guess, but a lot more than you'd think. What is Montreal? Is it somewhere in the middle? Are they somewhere closer to what they were in the regular season? Or has this team finally come to what, people thought was its true potential, which is a high-ranking NHL team?
It's really difficult because they got to deal with the we just had a deep playoff run contracts, and that's going to be hard. I
think the question is, what do you do with Philip Deneau?
Yeah,
was this run enough to give him that big contract? Because I feel like the rest of them are kind of. Okay, you know what you're doing. You're bringing back Corey Perry on a league min. You're re-signing Kotkaniemi at whatever number satisfies both sides. Tatar's probably gone because he couldn't even crack the lineup. Eric Stahl's probably back on a league min if he still wants to play. But then the big question is Armia and Deneau.
Armia, he's deep in their lineup, but that's a good player, man. He was a good player for them.
Armia, I think you get done. I think you get that done.
I do too. I'm applying my Leaf logic to it, where we can't pay anyone in the bottom 6 because we're screwed. But the Habs probably can. Lehkonen being an RFA is tough. Kotkaniemi being an RFA is tough. And Deneau, so what was it? Was it 5 years times $6 million, or was
That's
it
what
6
he was
years?
Offered and
he turned it down to start the year. Yeah,
and that number has not gone down.
No,
it's after all this. All I can tell you is it hasn't gone down. If I turned it down before, I don't know if I'm going to take it now. And I'm going to be asking for more. Why not? Why not? I was our most important center, arguably, in getting us to the Stanley Cup final. I shut down this guy, I shut down that guy, I shut down that guy. Like offenses turn to ash in my presence. That you gotta pony up for that. That's a really, really difficult decision.
I have a thing with Philip Deneau. I really loved his play, and I think for sure he's probably going to, if you're buying on free agency, you're going to overpay. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this works cap wise, but if you look at what the Leafs are going to lose with Hyman and Kerfoot, right? So you're going to lose, we'll get to that a little bit later, but you're going to lose Kerfoot. He's your third line center most of the time. You're going to lose Hyman. There are reports today about Tyler Bertuzzi, which we'll get into. But what's interesting with the Leafs is they do need a third line center. Even if Kerfoot was their third line center next year, you'd still probably want an upgrade on that, right? And I think Phil Deneau hits all the things the Leafs want, except for the dollar amount and the term. And my question is, sometimes, is it worth it? Because this guy plays a game much like Tyler Bertuzzi does, and we'll get into that in a little bit, that the Leafs do not have. And it would allow Tavares and Matthews to be more like Tavares and Matthews rather than having to play defensive roles as well. Matthews and Tavares are both defensively responsible, but you don't have either of them playing significant minutes on the penalty kill, for instance. Deneau could do that. You don't have them out all the time. I mean, you've got Tavares out in key defensive situations. Wouldn't it be nice if some of that could be shouldered by the third line center? And I wonder if he's a sneaky pick.
I thought we were having a conversation about what the Montreal Canadiens can do.
It's called How Does This Affect the Leaf Season, Jesse? What don't you get about that?
The Leafs are they literally can't do that. They can't.
They could. You got to move some salary out.
Well, then you're going to have Ilya Mikheyev on the left and right wing of all four lines. Because
I think a change needs to happen. I think they need to go beyond the big four here.
Yep. I agree. Every conversation we have about, hey, how do you make the Leafs better, involves making a major change that they refuse to make. So you can imagine how excited I am to talk about them in this offseason.
With Montreal, you go, how do you improve on this team? One of the names that keeps popping up is Jonathan Drouin. Now, we don't know where he's at because he did leave this season. Mental health was, I believe, cited as the reason why, and that he was taking care of that. So let's assume that he feels ready to play next season, because again, we don't know, and you can't know. I'm sure Montreal has checked in on that because they need to know for this particular offseason. But with Jonathan Drouin, it seems like that there are a lot of Canadiens fans assume that him being a native Quebecer, maybe it's just too much pressure on him, and maybe he can't play there anymore. Maybe he doesn't want to play there anymore. There's a lot of that assumption going on, which again, I think is unfair. But he does present a pretty tantalizing trade chip for teams that need a scoring punch at a pretty relatively basic salary cap. I think it's 5.5 or 5.
5.5. Yeah.
So if you look at a team
it's a fair hit.
It's a fair hit for a guy that probably can get you 25 to 30 goals, right? Mm-hmm. If he's in a position where I look at a guy like him and go, what kind of assets, if he's ready to go, what kind of assets does that guy bring in? Can you get the player? With Montreal's lineup, it's like, what do you need? You need more scoring. So can you swap scoring for scoring? Let's say Columbus can't get Patrick Laine under contract. Can you talk to them about Drouin plus for Laine and then pay Laine because Laine on Montreal to me would be kind of cool.
I have a sneaky theory.
What's your sneaky theory?
And this I think is especially if the Habs cannot bring Philip Deneau back, because they got Suzuki. He's going to be there for a long time. Mm-hmm. They got Kotkaniemi. He's going to be there for a long time. There is a cold business-like argument that you shouldn't bring Philip Deneau back if you're going to properly develop those guys and put all your eggs in that basket. So let's bring in a guy who we know can be a middle six center. And you know what? It would probably help if he was on a pretty affordable contract, but the team that he is on is still, despite his affordable contract, kind of looking to move him. And let's throw it in there that he actually grew up cheering for the Habs. Nazem Kadri. I think Nazem Kadri to the Habs could be a very interesting thing. And Listen, again, we have no idea what's going on with Jonathan Drouin. Who knows? He may not want to get traded. He may not this, may not that. Let's assume he is going to play next year. Kadri for Drouin is an interesting base of a trade. And then you got a 1-2-3 of Suzuki, Kadri, and Kotkaniemi. It's not bad, eh? It's not bad. It's something to think about. That's all.
If you're getting rid of the Duneau contract and the Drouin contract, because like you said, they need scoring, and to Drouin, he doesn't really even provide that. Like, even if outside of all of the issues of why he left the team and being a Montreal Canadian, his production is mainly playmaking.
Yeah,
like it's not scoring necessarily. So even if you're looking to upgrade on goal scoring, this might be the right move, regardless of everything else involved. So
he hasn't scored over 20 goals in 5 years. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's not a goal scorer.
Shit.
So
he goes through streaks.
Yeah,
right.
But I think he scored 2 goals this season while he was on the ice.
44 games.
Yeah.
Struggled.
So if you're getting rid of the Drouin contract and the Duneau contract, why don't you take that $9 million plus and go out and get the big fish like Jack Eichel?
I tell you what, you don't have to worry about anything up the middle for quite some time.
And they would have you wouldn't have to part with Suzuki or Caulfield for that, obviously. You're not going to.
No, by default, you have the space.
Yeah, and you've got the Montreal's got one of the best farm systems in the league. They could provide the younger players that Buffalo might be looking for. Although Buffalo just needs players, like guys who have played ever.
So I was looking at it. This is very interesting. So I was going to say, I don't think Eichel would want to go to Montreal. Eichel actually doesn't really get a say in the matter because he has a full no move that kicks in next season. Not this upcoming, next season. So if Montreal comes to the table with the Buffalo Sabres and they have the best offer, guess what? He's going to Montreal.